Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a massive yet surprisingly hidden danger in the aviation world. We're talking about the incredible maintenance technicians working behind the scenes to keep our aircraft safely up in the skies and the very real threat of fatigue they face every single day. We'll be looking at some practical, data-driven ways to actually manage this risk. Now listen to this raw truth from an anonymous lead mechanic with over 25 years of airline experience. He said, "Have I ever worked tired? When errors are made, we catch them and repair them and press on with the job. We don't document them, we simply fix them." Wow. It is a stark reminder of what really goes down on the hangar floor. See, falling asleep on the job isn't actually the main hazard here. The real danger is impaired mental functioning and the hidden maintenance errors that just naturally result from it. Fatigue totally messes with judgment, it wrecks focus, causes memory lapses, and directly tanks performance. And just like this mechanic pointed out, a lot of these fatigue-driven errors are just quietly fixed and completely vanish from the paperwork. To really wrap our heads around how deep this problem goes, just look at the insane contrast between the ultra-strict rest regulations we have for flight crews versus the, well, shocking lack of federal limits for mechanics. In the US, under Part 121 regulations, a person performing maintenance literally just has to be relieved of duty for 24 hours in any 7 consecutive days, or just the equivalent of that within a calendar month. So what does that actually mean? It means a mechanic could legally work up to 52 days straight. Yeah, you heard that right. 52 days straight over 2 months, and still be in total compliance with the rules. Absolutely wild, right? So, to tackle this massive problem, we're going to break down a 3-tiered Swiss cheese defense strategy. First, we'll look at the maintenance fatigue problem itself. Then, we'll hit our 3 main objectives: reducing fatigue, capturing errors, and finally, minimizing harm. Let's get into it. Starting off with Section 1, the maintenance fatigue problem. Before we jump into the actual defenses, we really need to understand the source and what exactly is draining our maintenance crews in the first place. As you can see here, employee fatigue isn't just about pulling a long shift or dealing with intense time pressures at work. It's really more of a complex web. It's this messy mix of work factors, things like shift duration, regulations, the overall organizational climate, colliding with personal factors. We're talking about a mechanic's daily commute, their family life, and pure biological factors like circadian rhythms and baseline sleep quality. So, managing this risk, it requires a true partnership. Safety has to be a shared responsibility. The employer absolutely needs to provide adequate schedules and rest opportunities, and the employee needs to make sure they're actually fit for duty before they ever clock in. And that brings us to the core framework of this explainer, the Fatigue Risk Management System, or FRMS. Think of every objective here as a slice of Swiss cheese designed to block the trajectory of a major accident. Because, let's be real, aiming for zero fatigue in a 24/7 operation is pretty much impossible. We need multiple layers of defense. The first slice of cheese tries to reduce the fatigue outright. The second slice aims to capture any fatigue-related errors that happen. And the final slice? That's there to minimize the harm caused if an error actually slips through the cracks. Let's explore that first slice of cheese, shall we? Section 2, Objective 1, Reducing Fatigue. This is all about stopping exhaustion at the source, way before a tired maintainer even steps onto the hangar floor. To put a cap on that exhaustion, a lot of international regulators and MRO operators rely on Professor Simon Folkard's science-based hours of service guidelines. It's basically a way to establish absolute hard boundaries on duty times. The recommendations are pretty straightforward. Limit shifts to 12 hours. Never, ever exceed 13, even if overtime is involved. You absolutely mandate an 11-hour break between shifts. Make sure there's a break every 4 hours. And this is a big one, provide a full month's notice for schedules. That last point is an absolute game changer. Why? Because having a predictable schedule lets people actually plan their personal lives, meaning they have a much better chance of arriving at work genuinely well-rested. But hey, beyond just scheduling, we also have to look at what's going down during the shift itself. Studies actually show that taking a controlled 20-minute nap during those brutal night shifts can massively boost a person's alertness. For example, research found that vigilance on a 12-hour night shift was noticeably improved just by taking a quick nap around 3 a.m. But there's a massive catch here. It literally has to be kept short. If you sleep for more than 40 minutes, you risk waking up with what's called sleep inertia. You know that terrible, groggy, disoriented feeling when you wake up from a deep sleep? Yeah, that can actually make your performance significantly worse for a while after waking up. So short and sweet is the key. All right, moving right along to Section 3, Objective 2, Capturing Errors. Basically, how do we catch those inevitable mistakes when a tired maintainer is already out there on the floor working? Adding our second slice of cheese means we really need to teach crews how to self-assess. One airline actually tackled this brilliantly by issuing these fatigue likelihood assessment cards based on a worker's recent sleep history. Depending on how they answer, the workers are given really simple formalized guidelines, like if fatigue is low, just keep an eye on yourself. If it's moderate, look out for each other. And if it's severe, go back to bed. Honestly, this even extends to allowing an excused fatigue leave if it's really necessary. It completely removes the fear of getting in trouble, which guarantees an impaired employee doesn't lay a finger on an airplane. Now, we all know relying on humans to judge their own tiredness is, well, notoriously unreliable, right? We always think we're perfectly fine. So the future of capturing fatigue is heavily leaning into objective technology. By using psychomotor vigilance tests on handheld devices, we can actually measure a person's reaction time to a visual stimulus, which gives us hard, undeniable data on their alertness. We are moving toward a reality where proving a worker's fitness for duty might just involve a quick app-based reflex test or maybe even eye closure monitoring right before they sign off on a critical repair. It's fascinating stuff. And since we already know we can't completely eliminate fatigue, we can at least be super smart about task scheduling. Our bodies naturally hit a biological rock bottom. It's known as the window of circadian low, between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. Planners and supervisors simply have to avoid assigning monotonous tasks, complex troubleshooting, tricky inspections, or anything highly memory-reliant during this specific window. It's just a recipe for disaster. Instead, this is the perfect time for more physical, engaging, but generally lower-risk activities to keep folks moving. The really crucial point here is that we can also modify exactly how the work gets done. The industry calls this fatigue proofing. If a task absolutely has to be done in the middle of the night, task cards can be modified to include extra error capturing barriers. We actually saw the tragic consequence of skipping this with a fatal Beech 1900 accident a while back. Night shift personnel made an error rigging the elevator control system, and there was simply no requirement for post-task measurements. Adding secondary independent inspections, doing physical deflection measurements, or running operational engine checks, these are absolutely vital ways to catch a sleepy mechanic's error before that aircraft ever leaves the ground. Okay, let's jump into our final layer of defense. Section 4, Objective 3, Minimizing Harm. Let's see how we can build our ultimate safety net for when those errors inevitably slip through our first two layers. This layer is purely about harm reduction. Basically, we evaluate every single task based on two things: its safety criticality and its susceptibility to fatigue. If a mechanic is dragging and highly fatigued, you absolutely do not assign them something like a dye-penetrant inspection for engine cracks. That is a highly critical task that takes intense concentration, often in a completely dark room. It's just asking for trouble. Instead, you pivot. You reassign them to a less critical, less susceptible task, maybe checking the expiry dates on life jackets or just organizing equipment. It doesn't magically prevent an error from happening, but it guarantees the error won't be the kind that brings down an airplane. A lot of operators actually formalize this harm reduction through something called progressive restriction. As a worker's fatigue level steadily climbs from the green zone into the red based on the hours they've worked, their privileges are systematically revoked. So at a moderate fatigue level, all their work might suddenly require a dual inspection. When they hit extreme fatigue, their sign-off authority is pulled entirely. That means no interacting with critical flight controls, no working on extended-range twin-engine operations. And if they hit that red unacceptable zone, they are completely restricted from performing any maintenance tasks whatsoever. So, what does this all mean? Ultimately, true safety relies on a robust partnership and a genuinely comprehensive system. We're talking realistic scheduling, the right tools to catch errors out on the floor, and strict policies to restrict critical tasks when our mechanics are running on empty. So, I want to leave you with this question to really think about. Is your organization actively using all three tiers of defense? Or are you guys just relying on a single slice of Swiss cheese and hoping for the best?